Hi friends, welcome back. This is Solomon Jagwe, and today I'm back with another quick insight and mini tutorial. So we're going to be talking about these bridges from Daz3D to the different other programs. Now, if you're new to my channel, I kindly ask that you spare a minute to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're alerted when I post a new video. And to everybody else, I'm always grateful, guys, for your support. Thank you so much for liking and sharing and subscribing. All right, so there are these bridges that Daz3D created, and they make it possible for you to send models from the Daz3D marketplace to Maya, Blender, Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, Unreal Engine, and Unity. Okay, now what's really cool is that you can pretty much send anything from the Daz3D marketplace. Okay, so there's like a whole array of characters, environments, props, animals, you name it, it's all here. However, not every single model in here is compatible with all the different bridges. And I think that's where I've been receiving a lot of comments on the YouTube channel on some of the videos that I've shared, wondering why is it that when I send a model over, for example, from Daz3D, from Daz Studio to, for example, the Unreal Engine, why isn't it working? Why is it like, even if I select a mesh, or whether it's a rigged mesh, why isn't it working? And the reason is that every single model here has been ascribed a certain category where it is either compatible or not compatible with with the bridges. And so there are two ways to get your models into Daz Studio. And the first one is with the Daz Install Manager. I'm using the 64-bit here. And this is the original, like the OG of the transfer. But recently not recently, it's I think some time back, they updated it to the Daz Central. So this is the new platform that they are using to bring all the models to show which of your models have been installed onto the different purchases that you've made from the Daz3D marketplace. And it shows you like even the most recent ones here. Okay. And so the way to figure out how, which model is compatible with the different bridges. So if your primary program is Blender, for example, you have to know which models are going to be working with from Daz to Blender. And the way you do that is that under my library over here on the left hand side, and I've noticed that it's not the same. If you go to the original one, let me first close this and let's bring up Daz Install Manager. Let me log in real quick. So in here, this is the original one, and you can see the interface is a little bit like the design is different, but you don't get a sense of what's compatible and what is not. I mean, you can see what's installed, but there's no clear way of knowing which of these assets are compatible with the Unreal, with Blender, with Maya, and 3ds Max. But there is Daz Central, and they've added it here. So you click on Start, and even when you click on Daz Central, you still don't get a sense of what those models are which are compatible with the bridge that you're working with. So the best solution is to use Daz Central, this installer. It's available on the Daz3D website. And under here, let me wait for it to load real quick. Okay, and under the My Library section over here, if you go to, for example, Daz Studio Assets, right, you're going to be able to see what's compatible and what is not. So, for example, if you've downloaded the Daz to Unreal bridge, up at the top, there's a tab that says My Compatible Assets. That's the one that you need to click, and it will filter down so that you can see every single model from your collection. And that's why it's important to, I think, to order these models directly from the Daz3D marketplace. Otherwise, if you just copy them from somewhere and install, or rather just put them here, it might not work properly. So this tracks your expenditure and also the models that you've downloaded in the past. And it also shows you when they were downloaded, the size. But most importantly is it shows you which of these models are compatible with the bridge that you're using. So if I go back to Daz to 3ds Max, for example, and I click my compatible assets, and I compare that to, for example, Unreal, you'll notice some of them disappear once you click on that. So if I do Maya, same thing happens. So some assets are compatible with the bridges and others are not. So that's why it's very important for you to know from your collection which of these assets can you transfer from Daz Studio into your program of choice. Okay, so my library is extensive because I've been a long time user of Daz Studio, and I use these models mainly for concept work and for previs, and also like when I get like an idea for a science fiction film. That's how I use this Daz Studio mainly. And so my program of choice is 3ds Max and Maya. And recently I've also jumped to using Blender because it's free. It's pretty powerful. And the most important part of it also is that they upgraded the Blender bridge to 2.0. So this made me, it convinced me to use Blender even more, because before you could only take the characters, the Genesis models, but you couldn't take environments. So the 2.0 version makes it possible for you to send characters and environments into Blender. And then for Maya also saw a recent update. And actually, if you go to the Daz Studio website, you'll notice that if you go to the homepage, let me see if I can go there. Where was it? Where did I see it? All right. So off to the left here, and this is under the Daz Bridges, is you see a green button that says new update. So let me click on that so we can look at it. All right. So what this bridge is going to make it possible for you to do is you can now do a two-way trip. You can send your model to Maya from Daz Studio, animate it in Maya, and then bring it back into Daz Studio. So if you love animating in Maya, then you can animate your characters in Maya and then bring it back to Daz Studio. And maybe you like rendering with the Iray, NVIDIA Iray render engine in Daz Studio, then you can do that as well. So, but in order for you to do that, you need to know which models are compatible with both, with the bridge that you've selected. And so that's why I'm pointing out that, guys, please take a moment to compare, use Daz Central to compare the different models that are compatible with the bridge that you're using. And you always look out for this number right here. It says this one is for version 1.1.9.5, and that is for Blender. So they say it's a 2.0 version. I think they round it off, but that's the most recent one. So if yours is not updated, it should show like up at the top, update, and make sure you update that. And for Unreal, it's a version 3.4. So far, 4.26 is not yet supported. That's why if you try to send a model from Daz Studio to the Unreal Engine, it's not going to work if you're using 4.26. So you need to either downgrade or download an additional copy of the Unreal Engine 4.25 for this to work. So don't get frustrated. And up at the top in the corner here, it shows you where the model is going to be installed. So for the Unreal Engine, you can see mine is pointing to the 4.25. And once they update it to 4.26, I'll make sure to update my path. And this is how you update it. Just click on this line right here, go to the program, and then point it to where the Unreal Engine version is located. Same thing applies to Max. You do the same thing. You come up here and then point the plugin to where you want the update to be installed, the 3ds Max location, and Maya and Blender and Cinema 4D and all that. So just to rewind real quick, it's important for you to know which models are compatible and which ones are not. And the best way to do it is to use Daz Central, which is this program right here. This one doesn't do it. You need to use the newest Daz Central version. And when it asks you to update it, please update, because you might have an outdated version. So please pay attention to that. So let's do a quick test. This model, when I go to Daz Central, for example, and I go to Daz to Blender, and I do my compatible assets. So this one says it's compatible with Daz to Blender, and then to Unreal compatible assets. So it looks like it's compatible with the Unreal Engine, and it's also compatible with Max and Maya. So I think for the newest models that are introduced to the Daz marketplace, most of those are going to be compatible with the newer bridges. But if you're using an older model, and that's why I think when I switch out, like if I compare to Maya, some of those models disappear from the compatible list here, and that's because they are not compatible with, they might be older models, but maybe the developer didn't make it compatible. So please pay attention to that. So this model, the cyborg looking character, this one, you notice that when I click to Daz Studio, like Daz to Unreal, it's still there. It's still there. Maya's still there. So it's compatible with almost everybody else. So let's try it out. I'm going to select it in Daz Studio, and I'm going to go to File, Send to the Unreal Engine. In 4.15 Pro Daz Studio, they've added a button off to the left-hand side here, and you can actually see it, Daz to Blender, and then you have Daz to Blender as well, Daz to Blender, but you also have Bryce, which is a long time ago, and Hexagon. So for Unreal, you won't see it here, and you definitely won't see it under the scripts up here. You need to go to File, Send to, and then click on Daz to Unreal. Okay, so let's click on that. And we're sending a skeleton mesh because it has a skeleton in it. It's not static. We need to do the skeleton mesh, and I'm using 2014. So these are the default settings, and click accept. Let's give it a few seconds, depending again on the speed of your machine. So that was pretty quick. It was less than a minute. So let's minimize that. And if you go back to the Unreal Engine, make sure your scene is actually open already. That's how you'll be able to open that, because if the scene is not open, the bridge is not going to work. The Daz to the Unreal Bridge requires the scene to be open and waiting for those characters to be imported. All right, so let's see. It's importing the FBX mesh as well, and this supports animation. So if I were to add animation to the character in Daz Studio, it will export the animation as well if you select it. So there are a few like alerts that are pointed out here, but let's ignore this for now, because it doesn't say failure. It just points out some of the smoothing group information. Okay, so key thing, the model is not going to go straight into the viewport. You actually have to scroll, expand this right here, and there's the character. So we're going to drag it and put it into the scene right here, and let me rotate it by like 90 degrees. All right, and there's our model in the Unreal Engine. Now you notice that there's still some compatibility issues here, and that's why it's important for you to know which model is compatible with what. So the model itself came in, but you notice that there's something different. Like you see how the shell of this character, the cyborg looking shell or Android looking shell, didn't transfer properly. So there will be some models that transfer very well, and there will be others that don't transfer very well. So I mean, it's trying down here, and let's see in the Explorer here. So there's Aura, and yeah, so there are some issues there with the model. So that's why it's very, very important, guys, to know which model is compatible and which is not. And that was just that was my quick insight today, to point out that in as much as we all have these libraries, it's important for you to not get frustrated because of a lack of knowledge of which model is compatible with which bridge. So just go through here and make sure, even as you're sending, that you test it out, because some of these models might not transfer properly. And as you can, the test actually bears it out that there are compatibility issues for some models, and for others it sends properly. So let me do another quick one. So for example, that's Aura. Let me delete her. Let's see if I can find something else, like another model, for example. Let's see, what can we use? Genesis 8. Characters. Let's try this dude, the behemoth. Let's see how well he does. And let me go back to Daz Central. And for Daz to the Unreal, let's see if it's actually compatible. All right, looks like it's one of those that are supposed to be compatible. And the Unreal, it's when I did the search, it showed up here. So let's send it to the Unreal Engine and see if it works. Right? Select it, file, send to Daz to Unreal, skeletal mesh, accept, and this thing, I think this might work a little bit better because there are no clothing. But let's see. It's best to try it out and see how it works. All right, wait for it to come through. And this process again, I usually let it go through so you get a sense of how long it takes, and so you have a better idea. And while that is going through, let's go back to Daz Central. Let me just get rid of this for now. So one thing that I've noticed, and this is during my testing, is that models that have like shells, especially like robotic models, they don't do so well so far. Currently, that is. I know it's going to get better and they'll probably improve that, but they don't do so well in importing the model into the Unreal Engine. So let's so get rid of all right here. And there's the behemoth. And let's rotate it 90 degrees to get better lighting. And guys, look at that. So that transferred very, very well. So there will be some models that transfer properly and there will be some that won't work very well. So his face is a little bit dark. Let me bring up maybe a rectangular light so we see a little bit of his face better. So if we go back to Daz Studio, so for sure it has transferred properly. There's the guy. Behemoth. Is it Behemoth or Behemoth? One of the two. But if we go back to Unreal, there's the guy. Crazy looking dude. So guys, I hope that was helpful. And like I said, please take a moment to go through Daz Central and check out all your assets just to be sure what's compatible and what is not. And then you can always do a test and see if it works or it doesn't. But always be aware so that you're not frustrated. Thank you so much for going through this with me. And do please spare a minute to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And as always, dare to dream big. Stay safe and see you next time. Bye for now.